Hello, welcome to the Matsunoki Cafe. I'm Shiro, the owner. Before the video starts, let me clarify something. If you don't care for any of this, you can use the chapters to skip ahead to the main content of the video. For those familiar with my channel, you're aware I make lore analysis videos on Hoyo vs. Other game, Honkai Star Rail, in the format of focusing on 1 to 2 characters and the lore attached to them. To switch it up, I'm going to handle my content of Zenless' characters by occasionally uploading an analysis of each faction. So, for example, this video is a set of character analyses for the Cunning Hares, Nicole, Anby, Billy, and Nekomiya. I figured doing the videos by faction will be good compensation for the longer wait between this series of ZZZ lore videos. That's all I wanted to say, so without further ado, let's get right into the character analyses, starting with everyone's first agent.
Ready for combat.
Autism.
I hope you win. The lunch is on you.
Okay, I'm kidding. Let's actually get into her lore, shall we? Similar to how March is the poster child of HSR, this game's poster child is none other than Burger Girl. And with the addition of her 5-star form as Soldier Zero, there's a good amount of backstory to dig into with her. Her ties to the Defense Force were pretty apparent far before the reveal of her 5-star variant. 4-star Anby and Soldier 11 utilized the same weapon and general fighting style. As we come to learn during Anby's agent story, these two and the other numbered soldiers of Silver Squad considered themselves sisters, although they were actually biologically grown replicas from the same source of DNA. 11 has made it clear time after time that she despises traitors. What she deemed as a particularly painful betrayal was Anby vanishing without a trace and leaving her to deal with the aftermath. However, we come to learn that when Anby recovered and regained her memory, she found out Soldier 11 was doing well and decided to keep her distance, misguidedly believing it was best for her sister. When you look at her agent intel, you can read the following excerpt. Rumors suggest Nicole found Anby near the ruins of the old capital and took her in because she was impressed by her formidable combat abilities. It makes sense that Nicole would find Anby there, as it's established that all divisions of the Defense Force, besides Obsidian, were wiped out by the spawning of Hollow Zero. However, we come to learn that Silver Squad's downfall was a lot more deliberate than it first seemed. The researchers in charge of Silver Squad said they only needed one soldier, and so sent the inferior copies on a suicide mission.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Anby was the sole survivor of that mission, just as the scientists intended. They asked her to execute Soldier 11 after the fact, but she refused and nearly took her own life in defiance. They tossed her out into the ruins of Eridu, where Nicole found her. As for why Nicole was near the ruins, your guess is as good as mine. Anyways, Anby would take on the name Damara from Nicole after joining her. As for her rank as Soldier Zero, I actually want to give a brief tangent about that. So, any of you fans of Persona? Well then, you're likely familiar with tarot cards and the major arcana. The first arcana is actually labeled with the number 0, the Fool. In the reverse position, the Fool indicates naivety and gullibleness, which does line up with Anby. Her past as a soldier is what resulted in her odd behavior and lack of social cues. She's so obsessed with movies to the point she thinks she's living in one, referencing what she's seen in films to ascertain what's going on around her. Even outside of her references to movie cliches, she can act charmingly strange, as seen when she roared like a monster and tried biting Billy's hand. In the upright position, the Fool is symbolic of freedom and new beginnings. Such sentiments are true of Anby's backstory. She fled from the Defense Force to save Soldier 11. Nicole then gave her the freedom from the experiments she deserved. Becoming a Cunning Hare and being able to live something close to an average life allowed the Silver Soldier the opportunity to forge a new identity. She finally had a chance to no longer continue her evil existence as a product of the replica experiments. In return for the pink-haired boss lady taking her in, she displays nothing but absolute trust in Nicole, feeling sure that she'll one day lead them to make a huge profit. There have been multiple instances of Anby being extremely loyal to the Cunning Hares. As seen in the event Anby's Secret, she's been asking people to leave good reviews for the Cunning Hares and report negative comments, helping the group's image without the others knowing. Plus, during Chapter 1, Anby shows slight signs of jealousy alongside warranted suspicion against Nekomata, as detailed in this exchange.
Anby, I understand how you feel. I was here first, or whatever.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That actually highlights what makes Anby so charming. She is a very emotional person, even if she remains outwardly stoic. During the Trust event where you watch the movie The Heartbeat together, you get this line of narration. Is it just you? or did you just hear the faintest of sobs? Her obsession with movies, in part, stems from them being able to help her better express her emotions, even if slightly. There's no greater example of this emotional side of Anby than her agent story. Her apology to her little sister Haren is honestly pretty poignant and adds a bittersweet touch to this quest's finale. She initially is presented as cowardly for only apologizing when Soldier 11 was in a state where she'd forget all about it. But I think it's actually brave that Anby was willing to let go of Soldier 11, yet still ensure she's safe and cared for like a good older sister should. Plus, her not truly reconciling with 11 goes in line with the entire theme of the quest, because if you truly want to see cowardly, look at Twiggy. Echoes of Silver is an agent story about two opposing ways to treat the past. Twiggy ran headlong toward the past, unable to let go of the family she found in Silver Squad. She turned herself into an ethereal, dying as a monster instead of moving on from the tragedies she experienced. In contrast, Anby properly confronts her past and is willing to unshackle herself from it, moving forward toward a better tomorrow. This agent story was not about Anby finding the courage to embrace her past, it was about her finding the courage to let go of it.
Take me back in that hollow and help me smash up that weird lab so I can get some closure with my former family.
Underneath her deadpan demeanor is a sweet girl who ultimately wants to enjoy the small things in life with her new family. What's not to love about that? If there was any character who was to be the face of Zenless, I'm glad it was her. 10 burgers out of 10. I love this silly little soldier.
I hope you win. The lunch is on you.
The first S-rank agent among the Cunning Hares, Nekomiya was the central focus of the first chapter of the game. So what is there to this cat girl that she got the special treatment among her peers? When Nekomata first appears in the story, she plays into the vibe of a sweet, innocent cat girl who comes to Phaethon for aid. However, as you're watching the footage from Amelian's recording, she makes this comment.
Ew. Why do I feel embarrassed watching myself act cute?
Pretty early into chapter 1, you're meant to pick up on how sus Nekomata is acting. A guy from the Red Fang gang recognizes her, but she knocks him out before he says anything, and she's very pushy about the Cunning Hares helping her find a valuable family heirloom. Later on, when exploring the Hollow, Nekomata intentionally tries to sneakily lead them right to the dead-end butcher, using the excuse of seeing a lost little girl. When they do find a girl running around in the Hollow, Nekomata is surprised that she was there. Nekomata is a deceitful little swindler, a cat burglar, if you will. You know what? I deserve it this time. I deserve it. Her cutesy act is just that. An act to make her targets drop her guard so she can snatch their wallets. Again, her intention during a good portion of chapter 1 was to lead the Cunning Hares right to the strongest ethereal in the Hollow and get them killed. This actually plays into her name. Her first name, Nekomiya, means cat shrine or cat palace. Her last name contains the character Ma, meaning again, and Na, which means fruit tree. And quite obviously, when you spell out her name in Japanese, then take the first characters in each part of her name, you get the symbols for her nickname, Nekomata. In Japanese folklore, Nekomata are the souls of cats reincarnated into these yokai that possess two tails. They can shapeshift and speak in human languages. They often seduce men in order to trick and murder them, which is why Nekomata and other cat-themed characters are commonly thieves and such. But when they discover the truth that Vision didn't evacuate people living around the Metro line and simply left them to die, she begins to see the Cunning Hares are good people with how adamant they are to save everyone. And during the group's attempt to hijack the train, we finally learn what Nekomata's motive was: revenge. She was a former member of the Red Fang gang. The family heirloom she lost in the Hollow contained a picture of her and the gang's leader, Miguel, who was a father figure to her. She left the Red Fang gang when they abandoned their ideals to protect their home, but still cared about Miguel and was distraught to learn he died in the Hollow during a conflict with the Cunning Hares. But now that she knows they didn't intentionally leave Miguel to die in the Hollow, she vows to make it up to them by negotiating with Vision. After the Cunning Hares bring the situation to the general public's knowledge, Nekomata chooses to join them as their newest employee. And we see that due to her tricking them in the past and their kindness in taking her in, she feels indebted to them. Her first trust rank-up event involves her getting her first paycheck and spending it on gifts for her teammates. Her agent story even starts with her coming to work for us to help pay off a bit of the group's massive debts. Her agent story involves her helping out a PubSec officer named Ollie. Through Ollie, we see how Nekomata is just as kind as the rest of the Cunning Hares. Ollie was an orphan just like Nekomata. Like how she sees the Red Fang gang as her family, Ollie's found family was the other kids at his orphanage. He became a PubSec officer to be an inspiring role model for his brothers and sisters. And I believe Nekomata was touched by the story because it reminded her of how Miguel, before the Red Fang gang lost their values, was a role model for her. And so she chooses to not take her portion of payment, so Ollie could instead spend it on his siblings. The agent stories and Zenless do a good job of having NPCs be important, but using them in clever ways to highlight aspects of the playable character, who manages to maintain most of the focus during the storyline. You know, unlike another game, where story quests are the NPC show guest starring the character you actually want to learn about. Totally not calling out any game in particular, no siree. Like the rest of the Cunning Hares, Nekomata is an outcast with a good heart. The main story was enough to make her likable, and the agent story did a great job of highlighting the best parts of her personality even more. I'm happy this silly cat girl found a home with this small band of misfits. Hey, just want to chime in to let you know that only 9% of my viewers are subscribed to me. I want to reach 2,000 subs before the year's over, so please consider hitting that button. It would really help me out, and let me know you want to see more content like this. Okay, thanks. Back to the video.
Nothing to fear. The Cunning Hares are here.
We now get to talk about the leader of the Cunning Hares, the money-grubbing pink Yaru herself, Nicole. This absolute menace to New Eridu has been a client to Faith in so many times that she knew of their true identities prior to the game's start, as we see her run to random play to ask the siblings for help to get Anby and Billy out of a hollow. You get a good sense of Nicole's base level personality from the name of her faction alone. The Gentle House in the team's logo is their official name. The Cunning Hares was just a nickname the agency adopted into their branding because of Nicole gaining a reputation for being a crafty schemer. In her final Trust Rank Up event, you see firsthand just how street smart and wily she is. She hires people to act as a second group of debt collectors to make the first debt collector fall for her scheme. He takes the one piece of etheric matter that's worth a huge sum of money, just so they can trick him into buying a ton of cheap stuff for that much higher price. She refers to Street Kid Rule Number 3, implying this was a tactic she picked up while she was living at the orphanage or when she was starting out the Cunning Hares all on her own. This event does a fantastic job in showing that Nicole is actually smart and knows how to scheme her way to success. Then again, this is the same woman who got hustled into buying a painting for 10 times its actual price. She's smart, but she ain't a genius. The name Nicole originates from France, being the feminine form of Nicholas. Nicholas means victory for the people, which could tie into Nicole's role as a support character. It could also connect to the first chapter where she and the Cunning Hares rally together a group of citizens to fight back against Vision. Tamara derives from the French name Desmarius, which means from the marsh. This could relate to how Nicole grew up in an orphanage where, according to her, there weren't a lot of nice things to have. Nicole's upbringing is shown and explained in her teaser trailer. There was one girl at her orphanage who suffered from terminal ether corruption. Nicole overheard her friend's wish to see the sun one last time. She hatched a plan with the other kids at the orphanage to run around the streets of New Eridu and collect enough Denny's to buy the girl a protective suit so she could go outside. However, by evening, they only had gotten a fraction of the Denny's needed to make such a big purchase. Nicole's cunningness then kicked into high gear, coming up with a plan for them to, quote, buy the sun. Using the reflective surfaces of the coins, the kids managed to direct the sunlight into the girl's small window, essentially making her wish come true before she passed away.
This was when I fell in love with Denny's. They can even let you buy hope.
Since she's the leader of the Cunning Hares, I think it's best if I went into the symbolism tied to the hare for her segment. In China, the hare can be a symbol for good fortune. Pretty obviously, this can connect to Nicole's obsession with money, and is even inverted with how bad she is at saving cash. But also, in many cultures, hares can represent motherhood and love. I'd argue this bit of symbolism fits with Nicole's character too. She's practically the mother of this found family, a chaotic gremlin of a mom, but still a loving mom. She recruited these three when they were at rock bottom and gave them a job and a home. That alone shows how kind-hearted Nicole is at her core. We also see how generous she is with where her money goes. Well, yeah, she is partially in the red just because of how many people she owes and for how much. You'd think she managed to pay off at least some of those people off with all the money the Cunning Hares make off their numerous commissions, especially with how high their fee is. However, in one of the redo close-ups, it's explained that Nicole actually spends that money on the kids from the orphanage, giving them toys. After living her life in an orphanage where the kids had little to do, she feels compelled to brighten up the lives of the current generation of orphan kids. That's incredibly selfless of her. This is still the same lady who has been driving without a license plate for years, by the way. Even with that heart of gold she's got, she's still a threat to society as we know it. And I wouldn't have Nicole any other way.
I have 2 guns, so double the accuracy.
He's so me for real. Well, Anby is undoubtedly the face of Zenless Zone Zero. Like, literally, her face is used for the game's icon and the social media. I would argue Billy is the runner-up for who the poster child is for this game. He was the first character to get a teaser and a demo. The dev team very much had faith in his character that he would attract an audience to the game. He's personally my favorite character, so forgive me if I end up glazing during my analysis of him.
Oh, stop dick riding, bro. That's all you literally talk about.
At the moment, there are still a fair amount of blanks in Billy's lore or details that are left pretty vague. I'm sure that's similar to Anby. Billy will at some point get a 5-star form that will be accompanied with a deeper dive into his past, like who created him and his time with the old Caledon biker gang. But here's what we can piece together from the game and Billy's teaser video. Billy is an intelligent tactical unit, aka a battle android, made of lost technology. A couple of drifters, a man named Apon and his mentor, found Billy in the Outer Ring's lost tech ruins and rescued him from there. He wandered the open lands with them for a time before they sold him off to the leader of the original Caledon biker gang, Caesar's father. He then gave the android a mission to fight as the gang's champion, as well as his name, Billy Kid. Billy is named after the gunslinging outlaw of the Old West, Billy the Kid. This inspiration goes deeper than a namesake and a weapon choice. Billy lived in the Outer Ring, which is basically the Wild West of Zenless's world, and it's been hinted at multiple times that this lovable android was some sort of notorious outlaw in the past. You know, if I had a nickel for every time a character based on Billy the Kid was non-human, had obsessive personalities, constantly did eccentric poses, and wielded twin guns that possessed female personalities, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but during his time with the old Caledon group, he gained infamy as the undefeatable Red Scarf. Both times Billy met someone who encountered him in the past, Enzo at the end of his bonding events and the Hollow Raider during a Hollow Zero quest, they didn't recognize him due to no longer wearing the scarf. Since Billy is obsessed with tokusatsu like Starlight Knight, a knockoff of Super Sentai, I'd like to think Billy specifically having a red scarf in the past may be a reference to the OG Kamen Rider design. He got along really well with the old Caledon gang, mainly Big Daddy and Caesar. As we see in the main story, he still keeps in contact with the gang and affectionately calls Caesar Big Sis. So it's plain to see that Caledon was Billy's family for the longest time. But during the Hollow Zero quest I just mentioned, Billy says this line to the proxy.
Everyone has a past. You're no different, right? You can't change the past, which is what makes the present and the future far more important.
One day, Caesar's dad vanished out of nowhere, and the rest of the old Caledon gang fell apart. That falling out was very chaotic and brutal, with Caesar even losing her left arm in the commotion. Her prosthetic arm, according to a random event you can have with Caesar at the Ballet Twins Road, was actually a spare arm for Billy. After the falling out, Big Daddy formed a new gang called the Sons of Caledon, with Billy and Caesar sticking by him for this new team. However, as he kept up his duties as champion for the Sons of Caledon, Billy felt aimless once more. The man who gave him that role, gave him his sense of identity, had disappeared without a trace. He became numb to the constant fighting in the name of his biker gang. In Billy's teaser, there's this line.
I had a long talk with the people who were following my boss, and in the end they decided to let me go.
His phrasing, I feel, is important. It's not, they had a long talk with me, it's, I had a long talk with them. So I picture it as Billy sitting down with Big Daddy and Caesar and admitting to them, I don't want to be champion anymore. I want to do my own thing, find a new purpose. And since every biker gang in the Outer Ring needs a champion, the group decided that they would find a replacement for Billy and let him go. And as we know, that replacement would be Lighter. I can see Billy staying around a bit longer to teach Lighter the ropes of being the gang's champion, then giving him the red scarf as a passing of the torch. During Lighter's training, he and Billy formed a brotherly bond, as both can relate to being one of the gals. But once Lighter officially took on the role of champion, Billy said goodbye to his old family and left the nest. From there, he met Nicole and joined the Cunning Hares, making New Eridu his new home. Lighter does mention how Billy has gotten good at hiding his edge since leaving the Sons of Caledon. Due to his Billy the Kid inspiration and the notoriety he used to have, I can totally see Billy being a ruthless fighter back in the day, showing no mercy to his opponents, if any. I'm not sure he had guns back then, as he mentions he got the guns he uses now from a friend while talking about coming to New Eridu. Even if he didn't have any weapons, it hurt like hell if a robot were to fist fight you. We can all agree on that, right? Anyway, in that same dialogue from Lighter, he mentions how Billy is living the life of his dreams with the Cunning Hares. That's an important detail to bring up. While on some level, Billy is definitely playing up how silly and incompetent he is, I think people have taken it to the extreme and believe deep down he's this super serious alpha wolf killing machine, when like, no. Like Lighter said, he's living the dream. At his core, Billy is a goofy, fun-loving guy who loves to watch tokusatsu and play video games. Again, he's just like me for real. He's exaggerating those personality traits to make himself more appealing and friendly to others. He likely believes people would be scared of him if he were to show that more serious side to him. I'm sure it helps that Anby and Nekomata are very talented fighters also. They take the load off Billy's shoulders, allowing him to maintain his easygoing persona. It genuinely needs to be stated how Nicole found 3 people extremely talented in combat and made them loyal to her. Nicole is like the Reagan of Zenless, an average person who happened to recruit multiple living hydrogen bombs just by being a decent person. Overall, Billy is a deceptively simple character in the best way possible. On a surface level, he's easy to understand. The comic relief of a group of comic reliefs who can still be a badass. And when you dig deeper, you learn the story of an android who at multiple times has felt hollow and purposeless. Someone who has found a home to be as carefree as he wants. Even then, when living the life he dreamed of, he feels the need to mask certain aspects. He's uncomfortable to be fully himself around his new family and friends. But, thanks to the Cunning Hares, he found what he wanted most, a reason to live. His reason now isn't to fight for his team's honor, but to simply help people in need. All of that is why he's my favorite character in all of Zenless. Every faction in this game has multiple motifs running ever present throughout their characters, whether it be in their designs or their backgrounds. The biggest running motif of the Cunning Hares is how they're all outcasts. All of them have left their past behind, seeking something better in life, and ended up finding that through each other. Nicole may have severe debt and spending problems, but her employees choose to stick by her side because they believe in her. If it weren't for her, they wouldn't have met and been able to enjoy their new everyday lives. Peak found family right here. The Zenless team made the right choice to have them be the first faction we meet and the most recurring in the story, as all of them are super charming characters who are always fun to have around. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I had so much fun analyzing this merry band of goofballs who only have one brain cell between the 4 of them. If you had fun watching, be sure to help this video survive in the algorithm by liking it, leaving a comment, maybe even subscribing to the channel. My goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers before the year is over, so I'd appreciate any support to get us there. Thank you for visiting the Matsunoki Cafe. Have a great rest of your day, and until we meet again, take care.